fourth episode,
Hey,
I'm
I'm
sure.
I'm all about authenticity and being honest and showing the not so perfect portions of ourselves.
Oh, okay.
And being honest and showing the
Okay.
not
All right.
portion.
Mute this. Okay, perfect. Yay!
Hey, fantastic.
All right, and I think comments are should be on. It did not ask me if I wanted comments on, so I'll make sure that when we're done, I'll go in and make sure that those comments are turned on. But I
Okay.
thought there was a way to have like a live comment feed.
I think there is, and what I'll have to do is I'll have to have my other screen up so that I can have YouTube on one so we can see that in real time as well
Right.
too.
Well, because I wonder if I go onto my phone, and if you guys are watching live, bear with us. We're
Hey,
learning. Um,
showing that everybody can do this. What I'll have to
okay. Has like, share, and report, but I do not see that we can
Oh,
do, I do not see that there are comments. Okay, so that is something that I'm going to write down on a post-it to figure out live comments.
yeah, I know there's a way to do that.
Yeah. I did not see like, do you want live comments? Click this box. Um, so we'll see. Okay. How was your day?
My day was pretty fabulous. Although I will say that it started off, I was like, please tell me this is not the way my day is going to be. Um, because I was making my coffee, and at the same time, I'm like, I'm going to be efficient and I'm going to do something while I'm making my coffee. Um, it-
Multitask. What we do.
multitasking, right? Yeah, the ICU nurse in me comes out
Right.
periodically. Um, I'm making my water with my fiber and my greens, my multivitamin, and I get everything in there and I'm like, woohoo, this is gonna be great. Let me go grab the little blender stick and get it all mixed up. And I whoosh, the whole entire glass, all the contents falls into the sink of brand new washed clean dishes.
Mm.
And I thought, okay, well, I can either be pissy about this or I can just laugh at it and go, okay, I lost one scoop of fiber, I lost one scoop of greens, and the dishes are already in the sink. So I just grabbed the water and spritzed them down and washed everything off and rinsed them off again and went, okay, let me start this process over again. So, but yeah, other than that, it was fantastic. I got my hair did.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
So I'm purpley again.
I have not dyed my hair since 2017. Yeah. I
I missed it because during COVID, it was very challenging to get the purple. I have to go in and get my hair lightened because my hair is dark
right.
underneath. And during COVID, it was hard to get the purple on. So I actually was au naturel for a good portion of COVID, which I haven't been since I was 15,
Yeah,
back when we sun-inned.
yeah, yes. Yes. I I would so yeah, when I was probably 12 or 13. Um I had the spiral perm and the sun in on top of it. And then you would curl your bangs, you would curl, spray with Aquanet, blow dry it, crunch the curling iron off, and then you tease so that and then you'd spray, and we had like bulletproof bangs that stood about this high.
See, I went, a high overachiever. I didn't have the bangs. I had like this whole ensemble going on here. Uh, I remember one of my friends in high school walking up and patting my hair, and the whole thing like went down and sprang right back up because, yeah, oh yeah, Aquanet. the ozone is officially we're the problem.
Yeah, yeah. So my best friend figured out that Aquanet also changed their formula over the years. It no longer works the same way. Yeah.
It's
Well, it
not
had cancer
shellac.
causing stuff in it before.
Well, duh.
That's why it worked. We should probably introduce ourselves for those who are watching that are new. Welcome to episode 2.
Yes, yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
I'm Tina, and I'm an energy healer and a self-care coach. And this is Ava.
Hi, I'm Eva Zobian Wolf,
Eva.
and I am also a energy healer, Reiki master, and yoga therapist.
And we decided that we liked each other so much that we were going to start, even though I can't say her name right.
Oh my gosh, there's so many variations to my name, and that's actually part of my culture is that there's a different variation of the name for each person that's speaking to me.
Same, same. I have Tanya. I've had Tania, and it's Tina. So sometimes I get mail and it's for, there was a new one a few years ago that I'm just like, I hadn't heard that one before. And also sometimes I get Pena or Pina, a P instead of a T, because when someone asks over the phone, like, how do you spell your name? And I don't say T as in Tom, they put a P in there. Yeah.
And mine is 3 letters. I don't know why it confuses people so bad. I went to get new tires, and the guy calls me by my first name and just completely butchers it. And I walked up and I was like, "Did you mean Eva?" And he goes, "No." He goes, and I'm like, "Well, it's pronounced Eva." And he goes, "That's not how it's spelled."
Uh, Did he say Eva?
Yeah, yeah. And different cultures
Yep,
say it
they
differently.
do.
Um, it just so happens that that's not the way that me and my ancestors
Right.
have pronounced it. So,
Yeah.
eh,
Yeah.
you know, that I try to let it just kind of roll off and get kind of silly. And
Right.
if I don't have this, here's a bit of self-care. If I don't have the space to be able to tolerate somebody mispronouncing my name, then I tell them my name is Mildred.
We,
Go get coffee and they're like, Mildred. I'm like, yeah,
yep.
that's me.
Yep. Whenever somebody asks, you place an order, you put your name in for a reservation, or you place an order and they ask for your name, excuse me, so that they can call you when it's ready. I always say Rob, and that's my husband's name. Because first of all, they're not going to know how to spell Tina. Second of all, they're certainly not going to know how to spell Eichenberg. So, and his mom used to, whenever they'd call something in, it was Reed. So, yeah. So we do that. What name should it be under? Rob. And they look at me like it's much easier to spell, I promise.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And
I know who I am, and that's all that matters.
and part of that, again, like this is self-care because you're just like, I'm not gonna, the hassle is just, let's save them some frustration. Let's save me some
Yep. I don't have
frustration.
the energy for it. I don't have the energy to, even though it's something as simple as just explaining how to say your name, when you've been doing it for 48 years, it wears on you. And it's just like, you know what? I know who I am. Those close to me know who I am. That's what's important.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because you'll sit there and sometimes you're just like, yeah, okay, let's play this game. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Nope, it's Eva. Yes,
Yeah.
it's Eva. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. You mean Eva? Yep. Okay.
So, self-care, is it truth or is it just bullshit?
It depends on who
Depends
you
on who you
ask and
ask.
what.
Is it the placebo effect?
And yeah, and it's so funny because as soon as I tell people I'm a yoga therapist, everybody's response is, "Oh, I should do that."
Right.
So one of the
Why
things that
aren't you?
I like to do is just, okay, how can you sprinkle it in throughout the day and then figure out this is a priority. I do need to put this stuff into my daily life
Yeah.
because um yeah, there are aspects of it that maybe are completely placebo. Maybe there's some that people are doing and it's like,
Hey?
is it is it doing harm? That's, like
Right.
that's the biggest thing. Is like, is it doing harm? If it's
Right.
not doing harm, there's some there's some weird shit out there.
There
Um,
is. There is. But did you know that self-care actually came into play as a a medical treatment for mental for breakdowns? Like moms would have breakdowns, right? They would have just mental breakdowns because they were just so overworked, so overwhelmed, and they would be sent to the hospital and for a few days to basically get put on pills and then sent home. That is what self-care used to be. Yeah, that's not what self-care is.
now, now,
Just be, yeah.
and I love this list that
But I pulled up.
you
Thank you,
found that.
Chet.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so here, let's go through. Okay, truth or bullshit? Let's play this. I'll do a couple, you do a couple.
Yeah.
Okay, self-care is all about bubble baths and spa days.
Oh, false.
Okay. All right.
Bullshit.
Uh, okay, so can bubble baths and spa days be self-care?
Absolutely.
But that's not
Not
where
it.
it stops. Like it
No.
is so much more than that.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
You have to spend a lot of money to practice self-care.
Bullshit.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, all of the self-care that I did to heal from my anxiety and depression was all free. Learning about it, most of it was free. I did have to buy a book or two. So, but while it didn't take dollars, it took time.
Yes.
So it may
Yes.
not take money, but it does take time.
Yeah. One of the things that we're already doing, breathing, can
Hmm.
be an amazing self-care tool.
Yeah.
All right. Self-care means avoiding responsibilities.
Bullshit.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell me why you think that. I'm agreeing, yeah, but why? Why do you think that?
Well, because when you are taking care of yourself, I think you're being more responsible because that it's that old saying, fill your cup first before you fill anybody else's. Put on your oxygen mask before you put on your kid's oxygen mask. Um, you have to be responsible for yourself 100% before you can be responsible for anybody else.
So, where do you think this myth comes that you can avoid responsibilities because in the name of self-care?
Oh gosh. It's hey, I need to go away for the weekend because I just need a break. Right? And you leave the kids with dad or a babysitter or you take them to mom's and drop them off. Totally, totally did that when my kids were younger. I would call my mom and say, "Hey, I need a couple of hours. Can you watch the kids?" And of course, I would be in tears because I was overwhelmed and overworked and frustrated and but I didn't know what deliberate daily self-care was then.
And I think part of that too is developing healthy boundaries where we learn to say, I don't know, maybe, no,
Right. Yep.
rather than this automatic yes until we're so overwhelmed that we're in tears and we're freaking out because we can't imagine how we can possibly do all of the things that need to get done in a 24-hour day.
Right. And on the flip side, we also didn't know how to say yes to help. There were many times when my mom would ask, or my mother-in-law would ask if I needed help with something. And I had 3 kids under the age of 4, and I would say no. I got this. I'm independent. I'm a strong woman. I can do this.
I remember one of the nurses when I first started working in the ICU. One of the nurses, one of the really sweet, kind nurses came in and said, "Hey, can I help you with something?" And I'm like, "No, it's okay. I got it." She goes, it is okay for you to let somebody help you with something. And I just went,
Is it
is it,
though?
is it really? How are people going to know that I can do everything if I don't do everything?
Right, right. Yeah. All right. Here's one. Self-care is about treating yourself, not improving yourself.
Oh, bullshit.
I think we pulled together an entire list of bullshits.
I think so. I think so. Well, and the thing is like, it depends on how, okay, let me take it back. So it depends on how you look at it. Because self-care can be, I'm going to treat myself and I'm going to have a cookie
Yeah,
because I want to, because it
right,
makes me happy. Um, but at the same time, recognizing that one cookie is fantastic for me, 50 cookies, not so much.
right.
So it depends, but really it's more along the lines of, and I think this is where the big issue with self-care is that people think it's like, oh, well, it means going and getting a pedicure or like calling in sick to work and taking a me day.
hmm
But it's so, so, so much more than that. So
It
yeah.
it is. And when you start implementing what I call deliberate daily self-care, you don't have to take as many mental health days. You may almost not have to take any mental health days because you're working towards being mentally healthy on a daily basis. Now I have people telling me all the time, I don't have time for self-care. Call bullshit. You have time for self-care.
And if you don't make that time, your body will.
Right.
Because that's where burnout happens, that's where illness happens, that's where, you wake up that one day and you're just like, I don't even have the energy to reach over and turn off the alarm clock.
Right. I just wanted to look to see, and I'll pull up maybe last year's. I wanted to see if there was a raise in disability claims, right? People
Oh,
going
I'm
on
sure.
disability because
Absolutely.
because people are like, you can go into any store and there are people our age that are there. Some of them, no, I'm not trying to group anybody together, but there are a lot of people between the ages of 40 and 60 who are claiming disability and not able to work because they have not been taught or been able to take care of themselves for the 20 years prior to that.
Oh, I'm gonna say even longer because remember, we're the Pharaoh generation.
Yes. Yeah.
So we weren't taught self-care. We weren't taught stress coping mechanisms as kids. We were told, suck it up and drive on, rub
Yep.
some dirt on it. Oh, you want to cry? I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
And
shoved everything down.
we did. And part of self-care is not shoving. It's
Yes.
it's it pain I say it pains me because it used to pain me to have to get up so early, but that people say I can't get up early to do anything before work. Like they get up a half an hour before work. Now, if you're going into work at 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, that's understandable. Like I get that. But if you don't have to be into work until 9 or 10, maybe even noon, you're working, the mid shift, you have time to get up and do some self-care before work. And if you're really, really diligent, you can get up anytime before, whatever time you go in to do some self-care work.
That's been one of my big challenges that I've worked nights for decades. And now that I'm not working at the bedside and I'm more of a semi-traditional work schedule, I still work in the evenings, but not as late. Getting up earlier has been a challenge, had been
Hmm.
a challenge for me. But that was also because I had that mindset of I'm not a morning person. So if
Right.
I keep saying that out loud, then when I set the alarm for 5, 6 o'clock, and I will admit that I have slept through 3 to 5 alarms,
Hmm.
um, literally turned them all off and had no idea. I wake up at like whatever
Yeah.
time. But when I said, I'm going to make a conscious effort to start getting up earlier, and now I'm waking up on my own earlier.
Hmm. Yeah, I typically get up um between 3:30 and 5:30 naturally. That has a lot to do with the fact that I used to put my kids to bed at 7 and they would get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because I wanted my evenings with me and my husband. That was our time. So we made it work. But yeah, when I started getting into self-care, I struggled to do it. Like for years I was told meditate, journal, go for walks, all that stuff, and I always struggled until I started doing the inner work and the energetic work. Then it cleared up that space to do that conscious work, that self-care work. So,
Absolutely.
all right, let's see. Self-care is an all or nothing concept.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Start
Because
somewhere.
self-care can be I'm drinking coffee from my favorite mug and it makes me smile and it makes me happy when I do it.
Yeah.
Um, and it there's just little things, and this is one of the aspects that I love working with my clients is where can you sprinkle these little moments. When I was working in the ICU and I was mentoring the newer nurses, one of the things that I would do is we would stand in our superhero pose for 30 to 60 seconds before going out on the floor. And when I first introduced it, everybody just kind of looked at me and they were just,
Hmm.
are you sure this does something? And I said, just humor me, try it.
Right.
If you guys don't like it after a couple days, then we'll stop doing it. One of the nurses, every time she had to leave the unit, got in the elevator, she would stand there in her superhero pose. And halfway through the shift, she comes up to me and she's like, "I thought you were full of crap, but oh my gosh, is working."
Yeah.
And those are the things. It's like it doesn't have to be something huge.
No,
It's person specific. What do you need? What are you missing? And how do we fill that gap with something that works for you?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. When I talk to my clients about starting a mindfulness or a meditation practice, they're so scared to sit with their thoughts because they instantly think that they have to sit there for a half an hour to an hour just sitting with their thoughts. And I tell them, I said, no, you can, you do a guided meditation. Find one that's 3 to 5 minutes long. That's all I want you to do. I want you to find one that's 3 to 5 minutes long and just listen to that. And I tell them, I said, eventually, I would love for you to get to the point where you are doing silent meditation so that you can pay attention to the messages your body's sending you. And if you want to start going silent right away, start with 1 minute.
Mhm.
1 minute. People don't realize how long 1 minute is when you're sitting there in silence.
Yes. And the thing is it's not about emptying your brain. It's about being able to see what pops up, what
Right.
sensations, what thoughts, what happens, and then not going down the rabbit hole with that. Instead, just seeing it and letting it go.
Right. Observing, not obsessing. Yep. Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you're thinking that you want a Big Mac, just tell yourself, okay, part of me wants a Big Mac. Back to my breath.
Yep, exactly, exactly. It's like, okay, so we'll
Yeah.
we'll we'll see what happens with that one later. But yeah, back to my breath. I
Back to
love it.
breath. Okay, I'm gonna scroll down because there were some that um that we came across that were just like, what? Some of them you were like, oh no, this actually does kind of work.
There's a couple in there. I started laughing as soon as I read
Yeah.
through it because I was like, wait.
So one of them was the fecal transplants.
Okay, so there is a um I can't remember. I'm gonna really be angry with myself here. There's a microbe. We're going to call it a microbe because it's not a bacteria, it's a microbe. C. diff. And there's a whole long name for it, but it's called C. diff. And this is what happens. It takes over your intestinal system when you have had either a long course of antibiotics or multiple courses of antibiotics. And basically, what's happened is all of the good bacteria that are in your intestinal system that process our food and give us vitamins and all of these things that are happening inside of our intestinal system. Um, and it causes raging diarrhea. Like it's a
Mm,
horrible bacteria or microbe. Um, and one of the ways that it is treated is with a healthy fecal transplant. Preferably somebody from your own household because they've got a similar microbiome as you do. It doesn't happen that often. They don't do it
hmm.
very much, but it is actually one of the best ways to treat multiple episodes of that particular microbe. And so, yeah, when I saw that, I was like, and again, here's where the truth and the bullshit happen. If it's
No
being
pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. If it's being offered as, here, this is going to make your life healthier. We're going to take all of we're going to clean you out on the inside and introduce new healthy
Right.
fecal implant or fecal material into your intestinal system, but you're still eating the same crap and you're still doing the same things, the microbiome is going to go back to what it was
Right.
before the transplant. So
Right.
in that case, you're not doing anything. But
Right.
in a medical situation, yeah, there is actually some validity to it because of the disease process that got you to that point.
Right. But I would not call it self-care.
No, there's nothing fun about any of those things. So yeah, that
It-
that one right there, I was like, oh my God, this is what?
yeah, yeah. And then there was now there was one on here that the oil pulling with unusual liquids instead of coconut or sesame oil. Some people use butter, ghee, which would be, I think, fine because that goes along the same lines as the coconut or sesame oil. But urine,
And
it's
again,
a
going back to
waste. It's back
yeah,
to, yeah, we're yeah, everything usually comes back to poop or sex.
My kids always, before their friends would come over to the house, they're like, at some point during the dinner conversation, bowel movements is going to come up, and you will be asked if you have regular bowel movements, or we will be discussing bowel movements. And all of their friends were like, that can't possibly happen. And sure enough,
Yeah,
somewhere in the middle of the
yeah,
conversation,
yeah.
I
Our
went
friends
right back
group,
to
all of
that.
our conversations usually circle back somehow to 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 poop or sex. Not sure how it happens, but it does. But rinsing with urine, not self-care. It not self-care, people.
Oh my gosh. There's
I'm not even sure there's a medical reason for that.
I, the only possible reason that I could think would be you're stranded out in the middle of absolute nowhere with no potable water.
Yeah, I'm not even
And even then, I think I'd probably dehydrate.
uh, I don't know. Yeah, probably. I don't know. Ones that I did like, sun gazing.
That is actually phenomenal. And that is so good for your sleep
Yeah.
schedule. Like
Yep.
that's a part of sleep hygiene is
Yes.
being out in the sun first thing in the morning, getting that natural sunlight into your eyeballs.
Yep. And if it's cold out like it is now across most places, it's okay to stand inside and look out at the sun. It's not going to be as effective, but if you really don't want to go outside, you can do that. There's also lots of sun lamps that you can get, so can do that inside as well.
Yes, but you're
And
you're right that the natural sunlight, even coming through, porch windows or a big um, window, no light bulb is going to have this
right,
anywhere near the number of lumens that you would
right.
get from even just a couple minutes.
Yep.
And one of the things can be, I do have to go outside. Let me just not have my sunglasses on until I get into the car and have to start driving. That
Right.
in itself is just that physical, intentional practice of let me get sunlight into my eyes.
Yeah, and isn't it that we really only need for our vitamin D, it's like a half hour to an hour of sunlight per
Yep,
day.
yep,
So it's really not that much. And you don't have to go out naked. It can just be, especially in the wintertime, it can just be hitting your face.
yes.
And I heard someone once say, no, it has to hit your legs or your arms. I'm like, why? Is my face skin different than the skin on my arms and legs?
And again, the scientist in me always comes back to I'd like to see the literature on this.
Right.
Tell me what the scientific research shows on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. We are getting too comfortable with just believing everything that we see on the internet. However, somebody could say the same thing to us when it comes to energy work, right?
Hey, and all of this, I always recommend don't believe me.
Right.
I'm happy
Do
for
your
you
own
to
research.
go do reputable, citable sources, right? And that's the thing is that there are so many places. There's over oh my gosh, there's many different hospitals in the US that are utilizing energy work
Hmm.
in their care systems.
Right.
And this more and more is becoming it's becoming part of integrative medicine
Hmm.
because it it's so beneficial. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm doing pre-op meditations for people that they can listen to a meditation that's infused with Reiki
Mm,
before having
I
before
love
having a
that.
procedure. And the whole reason that it started is because I had a retinal detachment and I used Reiki. I was giving myself Reiki. I was imagining Reiki in my IV fluid as it was coming in.
Hmm.
Um, just using mantras and Reiki and visualization. And I went into the 24-hour post-op appointment. And my surgeon looks at me and says, "What did you do?" And I went, what do you mean? And she said, well, I've never seen anybody with this little pain and this little inflammation
Mhm.
at the 24-hour post-op appointment. And I said, oh, I used affirmations and meditation. And she went, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
that would have been like, that's a great opportunity to say, well, wait, tell me more about it. Hey, let's do a clinical study.
Well, no,
Let's find
because it
out what is
challenges
behind this crap. Like,
right.
tell me more.
Yeah, no, because it challenges their belief systems.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But the thing is we know it's been utilized for centuries. We're just now getting to the point where we have the diagnostic equipment
Right.
to be
Right.
able to see what's happening, to
Yep.
be able to show that it's happening.
Yeah. I would love to do a session with somebody on a thermal camera
Yes.
just to see just to see how the energy, the temperature of their body changes during a healing session. I have seen a few YouTube videos, but they're different modalities. Like I would love to use my modality to just to test it out and see. But I haven't been able to find anyone that had a thermal camera yet that I could
Well,
borrow.
maybe somebody's going to watch the podcast and they'll
Yeah.
reach out to us and say, let's run an experiment on that.
Yeah.
Let's try this out and see what we can do. So
Yeah. I
I
would
would love
absolutely
that.
love to do that. All right. The other one was using leeches for blood detox, which I know is used medically still today
Yes.
for a lot
Now
of things.
they're not river leeches. They're not, leeches that they pulled out of
Right.
a pond. They're
Right.
grown in a
They're
sterile
lab grown.
environment. Yes. They're lab leeches.
Yeah, yeah. But when it comes to at-home leech therapy, no. Don't don't put bugs on you to suck your blood. Don't. Just don't.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And just remember, none of this is medical advice. If you're
No.
wanting to try any of this stuff, talk to your physician.
Yes, yes. In my opinion, self-care typically does not include ingesting things, period.
Well, anything that isn't part of normal
Yeah,
everyday life, like
yeah,
something as radical as drinking your urine. And somebody's going to argue with me and say, "We've been doing it and we saw amazing results."
yeah, yeah. But not recommended. It's but that maybe that's challenging our belief systems as well.
Yep, exactly. And then so again, if that's the case, I want to see the evidence. I want to see the research.
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of self-care is free.
Oh my gosh, there's
It
so
takes
many
time.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes time, but it's free. I mean, you want to read a book to learn how to do something, go to your local library to see if they have it.
Oh, there's so many books on self-care, and there's so many podcasts and
Yep.
blogs and articles. There's so much information out there. So here's one for you. Um, and I totally went away. Okay. Uh, self-care only works if you're in the right mindset.
That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one because I can tell you that before I got into energy healing, I had an incredibly difficult time getting self-care to work for me because I didn't have the capacity to spend time on it. It was like I did it once, maybe twice. This didn't work. I'm done.
Ooh. Okay, so that's an important aspect there because a lot of times people say, "Well, I tried meditation and it didn't work for me."
Right.
Um, and then, you ask, "Well, how long did you try it?"
Yeah.
Um, so our brain actually needs 90 days to rewrite programming, to rewrite the nerve conduction, the communication in our pathways in our
Mhm.
brain. It takes 90 days for that to happen. And when we're trying to create a new habit, it's really difficult when we first start doing it because we're going against the programming that already exists in our brain.
Mhm. We
It's
are.
like trying to drive down a dirt road in the middle of winter when the road has frozen, unfrozen, turned to mud, and then frozen again, and you're trying to find the place where the ruts are the right distance, right? So the distance between one side of the car and the other side of the car, you're trying to find the space where the that exists on that
Mhm.
dirt road. That's what it's like to try and create a new habit in your brain when it's radically different from what you've been doing before.
Right. Right. Yeah. And yeah, I did not have, yeah, I didn't have, and most people when they're first starting out, they don't, they just don't stick to it because it doesn't work fast enough. And yeah,
Well,
and it's hard to envision how fast 90 days will go by if you stick with it because human time is very slow.
yes. And one other aspect for people to consider is that depending on the state of our nervous system, if we're really unbalanced, which is where I was when I before I even realized that I was burnt out, I was so far out of balance that even when I started practicing self-care on a more regular, more consistent basis, I didn't actually come into close to being balanced probably years
Yeah. Yeah.
because that distance, I was having to do so much more self-care and so much more of the work just to get to a point where I noticed a difference. And then as I kept going and doing more things, that's when I really started to come into balance.
Yeah.
And that's when it really became self-evident, and different things that I was doing, like getting yelled at by one of the transportation guys, in the middle of an event where I was driving a vehicle and we're, you know, slowing down traffic, and the transportation guy comes up to me and just starts, and I happened to have somebody in the front seat with me, that had needed medical care, and I'm like, yep, okay, yep, uh-huh, yep, okay. And
Yeah.
then we drive along and she looks at me and she's like, how on earth did you just stay calm through that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, huh, yoga.
Yeah. Yeah. Now for me, it was I had to do a lot of the energy work before I could do the self-care. Because like I said, I didn't have the my energy level was like here, and then this was what was left for self-care. And doing the energy work brought that energy down so that I could do all of, this was self-care. So energy work for me was the catapult
Hmm.
to being able to implement deliberate daily self-care. And that deliberate daily self-care was meditation, journaling, going for walks, learning to set boundaries, learning to feel my feelings again. Like really observing what the feeling was. And it did take quite a while to implement all of that. And there were times when I would be like, oh, well, I got this down now. I don't need to do this anymore. And then something would happen and I'd be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have stopped doing that. Even as a self-care coach, it's like there are a lot of things where as you grow and heal, you don't have to do all of that stuff every single day. There are a few things that you should, but
Well, and the other thing too is that by doing all of that work, we get more in tune with what I call the language of us, right? So, one of the things that I say to my clients is you've got four ways that your body is talking to you every single day. You're getting feedback on how you slept, how you ate, how you breathed, and how you moved.
mhm,
And when we're in tune with all of those aspects, we start to recognize when, okay, I got to shift what I'm doing because I don't have my normal energy, or I'm not getting the quality sleep, or I have more aches and pains in my body, or whatever the indicators for you are,
mhm,
you're you feel it and see it and hear it so much quicker. So then you immediately pivot and just start doing more self-care or different
right,
self-care. But
right,
because you know you so much, you have a deeper relationship. Let me put it that way. You've got a deeper relationship with yourself, and you know that impact, and you know what tools and resources work for you. And that's why hiring a self-care coach, hiring a yoga therapist, to assist you in the beginning. And then I always tell my clients, I'm like, I am not here to be your coach for the rest of your life. In fact,
no,
I actually want to coach myself out of a job with you.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want people to come back. I want them to, in the look on their faces when they realize that they've had these tools all along and now they know how to implement them and they're now using them on a regular basis. It's just so phenomenal for my clients to come back and go, "Oh my God, I'm still doing this every single day. Thank you so much because it has helped me immensely."
And that was one of the reasons why I ended up stepping away from the bedside, is because when I started working with clients privately, they were coming off of medication. They weren't needing their sleep medications. They were able to come off of pain medications. They were able to need pain injections less frequently.
Yeah,
So all of these things, people were coming, like their blood pressure was lower, their sleep quality was better. Their spouses were like, what is going on? Like they're happier. We're doing more stuff together. All of this from just a few sessions.
mm-hmm,
And that to me is super impactful, because the thing is what we're doing is providing health care. So now people are more in tune with their bodies, they're more in charge of their lives, they're happier and they're healthier, and they need less
yeah,
in terms of medical care.
yep,
Like, we're not displacing medical care, it's that um, it's such a great adjunct therapy. And yeah, maybe they go to their doctor and they get off a couple of their medications, or maybe they get off all of their medications. Who knows? It's
right,
so person specific,
yeah,
but the quality of life is just so much better.
yeah, it is. It is. So implement self-care into your daily routine.
Yes.
If you need suggestions, reach out to one of us. We have, between the two of us, we have a ton of suggestions. There are a ton of suggestions all over the internet. Be careful what you decide to do. Obviously, it's your choice, but be mindful of what you're putting into your body. So I would say that for the most part, um, most self-care is not bullshit. Self-care is not bullshit.
Not at all.
It's not, I don't think it's the placebo effect. I think that it is greatly, greatly needed. And it is, unfortunately, I think it's still downplayed in a lot of the medical community, but there
Mhm.
are many, many, many doctors out there who will suggest go for walks, eat better, quit smoking, quit drinking. That's all self-care. So make sure you're paying attention to those doctors.
I was just listening to a podcast where they were talking about this because they say every doctor tells you eat healthy and get more exercise, but they don't have the training, they don't have the education to be able to elaborate more on that.
Yep.
But we can be of assistance. Um, and a lot of our resources are free too. Like just
Yeah.
by following us on social media, you'll get a lot of our tools and resources and information. So start where you are, and if you get to a place where you want to know more, and it doesn't have to be one of us, but
No.
find somebody that resonates with you
Right. Right.
and it can help you in that journey.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
Yep. Yeah. Find someone who's going to explain in a way that you understand what it is that you can do for yourself, not what you should do. If you feel like you should be doing something, don't, because that's there's so much weight behind should. And if you don't do something that you think you should do, then you often are harder on yourselves because you feel like you failed. This is the self-care implementation is a lifestyle change. It is not something that you're just going to willy-nilly do for a few months until you feel better and then let it go. This is a lifetime commitment of taking care of yourself because you're your first job, and how you get paid for your job is up to you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. That's fantastic.
So, but we're running out of time. We can part two will come out in a couple, maybe we'll do another part two on self-care because there's still so much
Oh,
that we can dive into.
we didn't even we didn't even hit a quarter of our list.
Yeah, no, there's so many more. But with that being said, I'm Tina Eichenberg from Design Your Existence.
I'm Eva Zobian Wolf of Eva C Wellness.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. I think we're all on I'm not on TikTok, but I'm on everything else. But give us all a follow. Drop your comments down below too on what your favorite part of the podcast was. We'd love to hear. And if you have anything that you want us to cover, please let us know. We would love to have suggestions on what to talk about next. And